Now, let's get back to the subject of the demise of UK. Has this been accidental? I don't think so. Let's jump all the way back to the year 2000 and the concept of a new class. This is the quote, and it came from the Centre for Policy Studies. The Prime Minister has a vision of a new Britain. Central to this vision is the creation of a new class, a new elite placed in positions of authority who will propagate the spirit of the age and spread the principles of the third way across Britain. So democracy going out of the window, because basically Tony Blair and his colleagues will be bringing in a new elite. And if you don't know what the third way is, then I suggest you have a look at this Guardian article. Credit where it's due. It's a very good article about what the third way is. And talking about Professor Anthony Giddens, the man who helped Labour create it. And if you look at the bottom there, you'll see Bill Clinton is mentioned a bit. Now, way back in 2006, we were warning about a charity that was supported very strongly by the Labour Party, particularly from the office of the Deputy Prime Minister. This was Common Purpose. And what we were talking about in 2006 was how this pernicious charity was controlling cities by putting its people in the structure of the city. So if we can imagine this, it's almost like a virus infecting a whole level of systems, from the council leaders through chief executive, through social services, and into the regional government offices, the Government Office of the South West, the regional development agencies, but also the police, local universities, Chamber of Commerce, and yes, unfortunately, people with criminal records or even perversions. So that's the system taking control of a city, but this was a subset of a much bigger system exerting control through the European Union, through UK's democratic government, and through all of our institutions, the civil service, the public sector, the quangos, the government offices of the regions, the regional assemblies, and the regional development agencies, plus wider society and the private sector, and youth and school children. And if we put in red the common purpose system, the thing which went hand in glove with it was the use of neurolinguistics and nudging, so that people at every level of this pyramid of power were coming under control of this new system for future leaders. Now, if we have a look at the Tories, they were pushing big society. And in his March 2010 Conservative Party conference speech, Cameron announced that the big society was a guiding philosophy, a society where the leading force for progress is social responsibility, not state control. It includes a whole set of unifying approaches, breaking state monopolies, allowing charities, social enterprises and companies to provide public services, making government more accountable. Well, weasel words, because government control has increased while the power of communities has diminished. But what was important is that Conservative Home blog site revealed that this plan is directly based on the successful community organising movement established by Saul Alinsky in the United States, and it's trained generations of community organisers, including President Obama himself. And if we couple that with these revealing quotes, which we've mentioned many times and will continue to mention, this was Nicholas Bowles MP saying that the Prime Minister and his Deputy Nick Clegg want their people power revolution to unleash chaotic effects across local communities. Chaotic in our vocabulary is a good thing. He's talking about the Conservative vocabulary. And if we bring in a second one to reinforce this, this was Cameron's ally and one-time advisor, Danny Kruger. He was forced to resign as a Tory candidate in Sedgefield after he was quoted as saying that the Conservatives' plan to introduce a period of creative destruction in the public services. So we've got big society with the Tories, and excuse me, we've got the Third Sector magazine here pointing out that they were surprised that an organisation called Locality had got a big government contract to effectively be manipulating society, but it was using the ideas of the Brazilian Paulo Freire, and they expected Citizens UK that used the Saul Alinsky method to get the contract. But what we can say with certainty is that the government was engaging non-government organisations in order to use manipulative techniques to take control of society in the UK. And if you want to know more about Saul Alinsky, well, here's a quote: "True revolutionaries do not flaunt their radicalism. They cut their hair, put on suits, and infiltrate the system from within." Think about Tony Blair, think about Keir Starmer, think about Cameron, think even about Eric Pickles. And let's pop him up on screen, because this is a diagram which UK Column produced many years ago, warning about the Tories' big society. And if we bring it into focus, we'd put Saul Alinsky at the top with some of the other key players. But have a look at the language being used: community empowerment, national citizen service, opening up public services, community first fund, social investment market, social action. And they were bringing in a commission for the compact. This is all revolutionary language, and alongside it came the use of big money through big society capital. And there were the major banks involved. Let's just see if we can get this one to move on. On it goes, bringing in creeping state legislation and doctrine to control our lives. And a lot of projects: the Big Lunch, Interfaith Week, A Year of Service, the Young Advisors, Youth United, Near Neighbours, and English Learning. And all this was coming together in a big society network, which was going to bring people together in order to implement the state's policy. This was nothing to do with building communities. And so we were happy to label it the big lie. And alongside this, we had the brainwashing, which was occurring through Common Purpose and the nudge system. And we just run through this pretty quickly, but these were some of the key people operating at the time: Cameron, Francis Maud, Gus O'Donnell, Jeff Mulgan, Julia Middleton, the then chief executive of Common Purpose. Sir Bob Kerslake came in. And then what do we have? We had very powerful people working through the nudge unit with French neuro specialists such as Olivier Ollier from France, who was part of Sarkozy's personal team, and they were discussing how UK society could be manipulated. All of this research is unique to the UK Column. Nobody has ever done this level of analysis in the attack on this country. What were they after? Our minds, a bay, as the TV says. And of course, the big society here largely came under the hand of Eric Pickles, the Communities Minister, who called himself an unlikely revolution, but stated that the revolution would begin here with his good self. Now, alongside all of this, you need control of the media, and embedded and alongside the big society networks are the media networks, of which the Public Service Broadcasting Trust is one example, backed by the ITV. It mobilises individuals in large numbers to participate in civil society, democracy, and their local communities, and using popular mass media, PSBT, appeals to people's self-interest and nudges them to take positive social action. I wonder if that was happening in the demonstrations that Ben was talking about. But before we leave on this, here's Antonio Gramsci. And he believed that, he was an Italian communist theories man. He believed that you could bring about a revolution in the state by pursuing the steady, incremental subversion of free societies. And really, this is alongside the same doctrine pursued by the Fabian socialists, who chose patient gradualism rather than violent insurrection as the most effective means to collectivise society. And I'll just pop this one up on screen to end. I can't give you the provenance, so I'm just taking it at face value. But somebody sent me what was a clip, which they said was published by a judge back in 1954, where he said a half page of his textbook outlined a few steps to overturn a democracy, divide the nation, create racial strife, cause distrust of the police and authority, swarm the nation's borders, engender the military strength to weaken it, overburden citizens with unfair taxation, encourage civil rioting, and discourage accountability for all crime, control the balloting, control all media. And I'll leave the audience to reflect on that, but whoever wrote it, it seems to me pretty pertinent.